Hey YouTube, this is Resident Soul Enemy Car Fan 62. First of all, it is Monday, February the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody who's watching this. Now, first of all, I am going to apologize. This is going to be rather long, but I am going to get through this as fast as I can. This is my review of Murder on the Nile. Um, Now, for the first 15-20 minutes of the movie, it starts out um, on Hercule Poirot and how he got that mustache. It was basically he was in war and he stepped on a bomb or something. It blew up, and so he got all these different like burn scars all in here. So uh, the nurse at the time, which came out to be his lover later on, uh, said you should grow it, so he did. Now, so then fast forward to a dancing club where this woman was talking about, um, in order to sing, I need to get paid up front. So finally they agree. Now, while that's going on, uh, Simon Doyle and Jacqueline were engaged to be married. He just proposed to her, and what turned out happening was he dumped her for Lynette Ridgway, played by Gal Gadot. Um, and so Jacqueline didn't take too fond of that, so she showed up everywhere they went shortly after. So they went to this really nice looking hotel in the middle of Egypt, and so later that day she showed up, and so forth. So um, the reason why they were at that hotel was uh, Simon Doyle and Gal Gadot or Lynette Ridgway got married, so that's where they were having their honeymoon at. So fast forward about a day or so, they got onto a boat. Now this is where it starts getting interesting because you have everybody, um, and so then you have Louise, who is Lynette's not exactly servant, but she's the one who's in charge of making sure everything gets done. So, um, so she went back and got all of everybody's luggage and stuff. So, um, so they started the cruise, and so it was on like an old fashioned, like a paddle steamboat type thing. So, um, Simon and Lynette went to Hercules Poirot to say how this woman, um, Jacqueline, keeps following them everywhere they go, uh, and wanted to hire him to try and get her to stop. Well, unfortunately, because she didn't do anything bad, there was nothing he could do. So, um, so they went and visited a Egyptian monument, and it that looked pretty neat. And so they were looking through, and so uh, Simon and Lynette looked like they were about to do it right there on this small ledge when a big boulder almost hit him. Um, so a couple minutes later, a sandstorm came through, so they had to go inside. So once it was able to get enough, they went back on the boat. When they went back on the boat, they found out Jacqueline came aboard. Now this is where it gets interesting because um, that night at a party for Simon and Lynette, someone gave Hercules Poirot champagne. Well, one thing that they did to it was they kind of put some sort of like sleeping powder or something in it, which of course made him dizzy. And so he went to bed early, and then later on the next morning, they heard Louise screaming. So they're like, "What's going on?" So they went and saw Lynette dead in her bed with a gunshot wound right in here uh, from a 22 caliber. So, so then they were trying to figure out who the killer was. Um, so while that was going on, about a day or so later, Louise was found dead. She got They found her in the paddle wheel of the ship, hit some glass. So they were trying to figure out why that was. So they figure out the killer was on board. Um, so one of the first ones they went to was Jacqueline. And so one of the things that happened was as they were trying to talk to both um, Simon and then Jacqueline, uh, Jacqueline got up, got a gun, and was pointing it and accidentally shot Simon. So this is kind of where a lot of that comes into play. Now, while this was going on, you had some Andrew Kachad. I hope I said his name right in here, and nobody really knew what he was doing there. Come to find out, he was sort of like Lynette's lawyer style person, just basically making sure when she got married, certain documents um, were signed and stuff like that. Well, when Lynette died, according to him, a lot of those documents had to get rewritten. So nobody really knew what was going on at the time. So then you have, uh, and I'm going to butcher these names, Ephema and Bach. Um, so Bach was being controlled basically by his mother at the time. Um, because she would never let him date anybody or anything like that. Well, he was seeing somebody behind her back named Rosalie. Um, so you kind of had that tension between those two throughout the movie. But while they were trying to figure out this murder. So, in the scene where it was basically Simon and then Bach, um, you see a gun poke through a little hole on the side, and you hear a gunshot, and Bach died. So everybody's trying to figure out who the killer was. So Hercules Poirot chased this person and got to the main hallway of the ship, and then everybody was coming out like, "What's going on?" So he was trying to figure out who was doing this. So you have three murders so far, um, and so they're trying to figure out who's killing these people and why. Well, while you have that going on, you have uh, a, a Mrs. Bode, 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 who's assistant to Marie. Um, and you never quite knew what they were doing there because they were always kind of like they never really said they talked a lot, but they never really did much. Um, so you never quite knew what they were doing. So um, so then finally you have uh, toward the end of the movie, everybody was in this room. So you had uh, Simon, you had uh, Andrew, you had Buck, you had Rosalie, you had Annette, you had Doctor Bruid. He claimed he's done work in like Africa and them. Nobody really knew. Then you had Jacqueline. You had uh, Marie Van Schuler. Then you had Simone, and then you had Mrs. Bowie. Bowie. And so they're all there trying to figure out what they were doing there. So Hercules Poirot basically was talking about how this basically was a plan to kill uh, Lynette, but unfortunately, other people got in the way. So what he said was he basically when earlier about a day before when Jacqueline was trying to get calmed down, he grabbed her gun that got tossed out of her hand, ran down to him and Lynette's cabin, shot her in the temple, ran back, um, shot himself in the leg, and because he still had feelings for Jacqueline. So he also wrapped the gun up in Mrs. Marie Marie's scarf that she's been complaining about, been missing for a couple of days. So she wrapped that up, threw it in the Nile. Well, so so uh, Andrew, or not Andrew, Simon was like, "Why would I do that?" And so it was like, because you still have feelings for Jacqueline. So Simon tried to stood up. He basically got to the bar and hugged Jacqueline, and somehow both of them got shot and died right there. So the boat landed on the dock, and so so Hercules Poirot stood out front, um, and they each talked to him about different things for like a minute, and then kind of went on. so you got to Dr. Luig, um, and he's like, I'll do stuff in Africa and Ghana and stuff like that. Uh, and then you also talk to uh, Rosalie, and she was lost for words, and so it cuts to 6 months later. It shows this man walking into a that same club from earlier, and the camera pans and it shows Hercule Poirot without his mustache, and shows him listening to music from somebody, and then that's the end of the movie. Now, here here are my thoughts on the movie. Now, I thought everybody in that movie did great. They did their lines well, and they played to what they worked with. I did like the ship and how they did that. Now, but I also do like the fact they have more than one murder in this story, so you're kind of thinking who done it and why. Um, Now, Emma Macquarie, I hope I said her name right, who plays Jacqueline in the movie. She looks a lot like the person who plays like Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squads and stuff like that. I just thought I'd put that out there. Kind of look like her. Now, overall, I do recommend you seeing the movie. Um, and let me know if you have what you